What is going on? It's Winning on Wednesday with the Patriot Business Alliance. We are so happy to be back on here. We got an awesome guest speaker tonight. And without further ado, we love to kick our Wednesdays off with our wins, our personal and business best. So we're going to take a moment, go around the table. We're going to start with our man, KC. Let us know some of the wins that you may have had this week that you want to share with our audience.
Well, wins. Okay, look, for me, the precipice of recognizing this dream, and I think this is a personal and a business, so I'm going to wrap it into one. You know, we had this dream. I came back from some training in Miami, was that May? And we started talking about we need to do an event. We need to do this, and we didn't even know what it was yet, but we just created a landing page. We just started taking some big steps, right? Just a big step forward. And we have sold out sponsors in less than 10 days. We sold out the live event in less than 21 days, I think. We had a few extra tickets left. We did a few specials to allow some additional folks to go in. We got like a handful of virtual tickets. Jeff and Mike and our sponsors have pulled. All right, we got it. We're learning how to use these mics here.
You gotta get up. You gotta get up on it, KC, so these people can hear you out there.
It's like anyhow. I'm gonna not say what that's like, but anyhow. So that's a personal and business best. Is that we are on the precipice of recognizing this dream. Everything seems to be complete synergy, right? You know, we are in the flow state, as it were. 93 Bulls. That's what we always analogize, right? It's why? Because they were 72-10. Greatest team of all time in any sport, in my opinion, and in a lot of people's opinions. So, and that's how we're playing right now. That's how we drill. That's how we practice. That's how we rehearse. And that's what we bring on the field. And I'm so excited and stoked about this Saturday because this Saturday is the $1 Million Hustle. It'll be the culmination of the last 90 to 120 days of hard work. Thank you. Big thank you to Jeff Skinner, who is at home running the background. Because, the appreciation we have for him is too big to fill this room. So we had to actually push him out into cyberspace. Thank you, Jeff, for everything you do. We love you, brother. So
that's huge. I can't, you know what I mean? Casey's right. We got a couple of big wins coming in with the PBA. So I'll keep it short and sweet. Personal best is that I'm just continuing to grow a solid relationship with my children as they become teenagers. Them being open and honest with me when they make mistakes or when they have successes, and just being there and not hiding, being a teenager like I was when I was 14, 15, 16 years old. So that's huge for me to be able to see. My daughter's going to be a senior in high school. Business best. Today I was at a kind of a coaches meeting with the Entrepreneur Advisory Board, and we really kind of dove into one of my roofing company on structure and how we can really begin to implement better processes, systems, so that we can scale the way we want to be able to scale, as well as avoid a lot of mistakes and hiccups. What you got for us, Floyd?
Well, so personal best, I would probably say I attended a graduation this weekend, and it's with my organization, and to see the young adults and also older adults walk across the stage and get their certificate or get their diploma and are about to go out into the world and be a contribution to society. To see that and to know that we have fellow brothers and sisters who wants to put America's first agenda at our forefront. My business best is me being here tonight. So
nice.
Oh,
man. Nice. That's awesome. So
there we go.
For those that don't know, Floyd McLendon is going to be one of our speakers at the $1 Million Hustle. He's got one. He's got one hell of a story, folks. We don't want to dive too big into who he is and what he's all about. We're going to leave
a free show.
We're going to leave the mystery.
Free show. You only get a little bit.
You only get a little bit. But tonight we're going to dive into leadership. John Maxwell, right? You know him well. We talk about him frequently about the 4 leadership principles. We've been talking this whole past couple of months on the importance of leadership, building teams, and and working around that. And there's nobody better than I could think of than Floyd to be able to give some enlightenment about what it takes to be a leader and how he became a leader, and how do you find that kind of that gumption inside yourself.
Wow. So how I became a leader, it was through the 6-year process of becoming a Navy SEAL. And I believe that before you can even take on the responsibility of leading someone, the first person you got to lead is yourself. And that's, just putting in the work day in and day out. And when I was going through the process of training, one, it humbled me, because I wasn't at a level that I thought that I should have been. And two, the training put me in a position to where I was almost forced into the position to be responsible for others. And it was either, and my instructors and my classmates around me was not going to accept anything less than my best. Right. So it was holding myself accountable and making sure that I knew what my responsibilities were, and that I took care of those responsibilities, which in turn allowed me to be the leader for others.
And you nailed it right on the head. And, many of us have read books on leadership.
Yeah, lots.
You've experienced, all of us experienced service, being in the service, being in the military,
Yes,
the type of leadership qualities that are instilled on us, whether we wanted it or we didn't, like they gave it to you. Right. Like it didn't matter if you wanted to be a leader or not. Just like you said, they're like, well, it's kind of forced into that role and responsibility. And so that's one of the biggest advantages of actually being a service member, is being able to gain those leadership qualities. But you had mentioned something that really stands out, was it humbled you and it really made you become honest with yourself. And I think that is a huge key component to any leader. And I know, Casey, that you have to deal with that. You got a team, and there's probably times where have you ever second guessed yourself as a leader?
All the time. And, just so you guys know, when I'm over here clacking away, I'm not playing spider solitaire. I'm taking notes. I take notes for every one of our talks, because I think it's important, because I like to go back and refresh my recollection. But yeah, there's not a moment where you don't second guess yourself as a leader, in my experience. But, part of the decision is, and you guys know this, and audience, you guys and gals know this too, because when you're forced into leadership, you have to make fast decisions with imperfect facts, usually not even all the facts, maybe even no facts. And you've got 2, maybe 3 options: do nothing, retreat, or take some action, go forward, move forward, advance the ball down the field. And, those decisions, just like the subject of this month is the great Jerry Rice, and because he exemplified leadership in so many ways. But, we're talking about a split second. You have to make super fast decisions. And then you are going to start second guessing yourself. Probably the second that split second is over, you're like, oh man, what did I just put in motion? Well, I better execute on this decision, because, the alternative is you've already gone past the point of a retreat. You've already gone past the point of, I could have taken, right? Yeah. You're at point of no return. So, and I think to help with that is, you got to have a short memory. And you are going to hit, force of average. We talk about that a lot in here. So short memory, sometimes you're going to hit a tripwire road, but you're making the best decision you can. And how do you deal with that second guessing is after action meetings, things we learned in the military, right, that until really we started doing these meetings with each other, how much of that, I was always like, man, why do we got to go to a damn after action? Who cares? It didn't go right. Okay, I can summarize this meeting.
Yeah, we lost the case.
Yeah. It went in the ditch. Yeah. Got our blank kicks, right?
I think what helped me out with the anxiety piece of second guessing or questioning, for me personally is preparation. Like I know that I have to put in the work beforehand so that once I have to make that decision, I'm relying on essentially my training up to that point.
Right.
Now, if I hadn't trained and I had not prepared, then my anxiety is way up because now I am literally in the moment. I would be second guessing myself. So I've learned over decades that I have to be prepared for whatever decision that I'm making. So that way it alleviates the anxiety. It's still there, and it should be, because if it's not, I think
you're
in
not
you're in the wrong place, right?
Yeah, you're not effective leader if you don't have
Yes.
that gut.
Yes.
Right. Like,
Yes.
because that's what we thrive on when we're in what we call it the fight or flight method. Right. That's your parasympathetic nervous system. When you're backed up against a wall, do you run and cower or do you stand and fight? And as a leader, we often get posed with that scenario more often than not. And 90% of the great leaders always chose to fight, always chose to adapt, overcome, make the best choice, even though they didn't know, even though they knew the end result could have had mass casualties, could have not worked out, could have cost the company millions. They were the ones that were willing to put it on the line and make those decisions, and then be able to reflect it because of how well they prepared, the research done on their competition. You know, football teams, other athletic teams, they're consistently watching the films of their competition. If you're a police officer or a high level trained Navy SEAL, recon, whoever branch that you're with, you guys go through repetitive training over and over and over again so that it becomes muscle memory.
Yes.
And that's what it takes to be that next level leader, is that training and preparation that you're tapping in on.
Yeah, I completely 1000% agree with that. I think that's one of the reasons why we're all in this room week after week. How many, Jeff, what's the count? 89 something, whatever. Doesn't matter. It's a lot of weeks, but you know, the big takeaway, and we all have our own mentors, and whatever those mentors are, one of the things that you take, whether that mentor is a book off a shelf, you know, Mike Bassett wrote a book, right? You're reading that book. That's training, right? That is training, right? Floyd's an author. He's got a book. Read his book, right? That's training. You're getting advice from a mentor. You're training. And you're exactly like Floyd's talking, exactly like Mike. I don't even know what that word he said is, something or another. I would say, whatever, man. I'm against all that book learning. That thing, that fight or flight thing that triggers gets lessened, just like Floyd's talking about, when you do the training. And sometimes that training can just be as simple as reading the memoirs of Floyd, of Mike, of you know, Keenan, of these authors. You know, don't have to like hire a professional coach all the time, although I recommend it. You know, you can get that information and train just by letting those authors mentor you.
Oh, so, absolutely. And I reach out to, so I compartmental. I'm very good at compartmentalization, and within that compartment, or the multiple compartments that I have, what I try and do is I do my best to seek out someone who is more experienced, more educated than I am, that will assist within that compartment.
Right.
Because I want to be I honestly want to be the least educated in the room, right? For me, if I'm talking all the time, then
what am I even doing here?
Then something's wrong, right? Unless I am in a mentor role or I am uplifting, right? But for the most part, most of my time, I want to be the quiet one, where I'm taking notes, where I'm learning from that particular mentor or person who has the information that I value.
You know, you hit it right on the head. You know, we say this consistently. If you're the smartest one in the room, you're probably in the wrong room. You're not doing yourself a service as a leader if you're not growing, if you're not challenging yourself, if you're not being honest with yourself, right? If we're out here setting limitations on our growth, then our destiny isn't for that true leadership role.
Right.
And it's not meant for everybody, right? Because we have to have the followers. We have to have somebody to lead. You know, we have to have that team to be able to create success that we're all, I believe, is
Right.
destined for, regardless of where you live in this world.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Human rights, across the board. Everybody should be afforded the opportunity to taste success, joy, and happiness.
Yeah.
Right? Those things don't cost a freaking dime, but that shit is getting taken away from people daily. You know what I mean? Their joy and their happiness, which I think is crazy. So over here on the board, so you get out what you give. What does that mean to you guys as a leader? You get what you give. Like, help me understand that little phrase right there as a leader.
I have a great story.
Okay,
Right.
Story time.
Great
Folks,
story
pull
time.
up.
Great story time. When I first joined the Navy, it was all about me. Right. Navy is going to provide me with this education. I'm going to leave and I'm going to do this for myself. And I was very vocal about it. Like my first 6 years in the military, it was like, I am not making it a career. I'm just here to do my contract and I'm out and I'm going to do all these great things, not knowing, right? I don't know I don't know the game yet. So I'm not understanding that what I'm doing is those who have chosen the Navy to be a career, right? And they're my leaders. They're looking at me as if I am, basically, telling them that their route as a Navy's career is trash.
Yeah, it's
Right,
wrong.
Right. So here it is. I'm really pissing them off, which is severely narrowing my opportunities.
Right.
Right. But I don't know that yet because I'm like, hey, this is whatever. As soon as I decided to make the Navy a career and I started to share with my leadership, I want to do this and I want to do this and I want to extend my career and do all these good things in the Navy. Doors just flew open and I was getting help from my leaders and assisting me with those goals and moving forward. So this is a perfect example of what you put out into the world is exactly what you're going to get back. Right. So my first 6 years, I'm just pissing on the Navy.
Right.
Those who's like, that's who they support the country, like defend the country, support their family. I'm just pissing on them. Right. And they're like,
Right.
okay, well, fine. We're going to piss on you back. Right. And it was the worst time in the military at that particular time. But as soon as my perspective changed and everything opened up, and now I'm showing love for the Navy and the profession, I started to get love back.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. And it doesn't matter in the military if you're out there and you're grabbing a job and they put you on a team, but you're just showing up for that paycheck and you're not putting in, that 100% effort. Don't expect the same results back from whoever is writing that check. You know what I mean? And that goes for clients out there in your whatever your scope of business is. If you're putting in all the work and effort, but that client on the back end is just hemming and hawing, well, you probably don't even want that person, as a client, right? If they're just going to continuously be pessimistic and the world is ending, so to speak. We all know those people. Every time you open up a door, the next new wave of some horrible news is coming down the pipe, right? And so, and you nailed it as well when you said it's the perspective. His perspective changed on the environment he's in. The environment never changed, right? It's not like he just got out of the Navy, but the perspective of the people he worked with, the people he surrounded himself with, he now sought their guidance. And that is a true characteristic of a leader, is when you become willing to seek others people's guidance to make you a better person. So what about you, Casey? You got some mentors in your back pocket. You're always talking about the people you speak with and touch base with, and seeking people's guidance. That's what people call you and hire you for, is your guidance.
Right. But I cannot agree enough about, get what you give. And when you approach your job, whether that job is in the Navy as a devil doc in the Marine Corps, Navy, but Navy corpsman in the Marine Corps, and Jeff in the Marine Corps, or whatever it is, right? Whatever business field it is, when you approach with that level of service in your heart and you're willing to do whatever it takes to serve the client, you will get way more than you ever were given. And I remember being told about this, not the first time, but certainly one of the more memorable times, by an attorney who was a mentor at a place I work. What's up, Andre? Thanks for jumping in, man. And he said something to the effect of, Al, I really appreciate this advice, by the way. That's a paycheck to the heart. And that has always stayed with me. He's like, every time you do something good for someone, you build the brand of you, Casey. And that's a little paycheck to the heart. And I'm not saying it as elegantly and smartly. That dude was massive smarts. But what I'm getting at is it always hung with me about, overpromise and over deliver, right? That's something that mentors say a lot in a lot of different ways, but you've got to bring that service, the servant's heart, right? The good Samaritan, right? Why is he stopping on the side of the road to pick somebody up out of the ditch? Mike's book is a lot about that. And that's that servant leadership, which turned Floyd's career around. When you're serving with, career sailors who've been all over the world twice and seen everything 3 times, some of them combat vets, some of them not, some of them serving all the way back to, the last real gun battles at sea, right? We're talking Korea and places where the Navy, Vietnam, where they're actually shelling and taking shells from land. I mean, they have seen true naval warfare. And you're telling them, hey, man, I'm just here to get my A school, my B school, my C school, and then I'm going to go check out and work at L3. That you're stepping on their dreams. But, think about it. He said the doors just flew open once he rededicated his life to the service and the service of serving the needs of the United States Navy and let's face it, the Constitution of the United States of America and the people of the United States of America, the defense. Like, how do we project authority in the world? It's with the Navy, folks, right? They get all the ships there. They get the Marine Corps there. They get the Army. Everybody has to catch a ride on the Navy ship.
Amen.
You right about that. Say it louder. Say it for the people in the back. You know what I mean? Say it for the people in the back.
The Coast Guard, we stop at 150 miles. We're like, what up, dog?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, y'all got some pretty cool tugboats.
Is there a phone buoy out here? How do I get mail?
But as human beings, I believe we that's our sole purpose on earth, is to serve.
Yes.
Right. The difficult part is finding our gift. It's figuring out what our gift is. And then once we find that out, we use it to serve others. And I don't care who you are. You could be the worst person who's known that you could be the person that has the worst attitude. But if you do something good for someone, you feel better.
That's right. 1,000 times.
When it's not transactional, you just do it just out of the kindness of your heart. You feel better. That's no mistake. Like, we're hardwired that way. We're hardwired that way.
Yeah, and I'm a firm believer of giving without, you know what I mean, getting something in return.
Yeah,
because that's not why I'm giving. And I've picked up tons of people on the side of the road. My wife hates it, but whatever. I'm going to keep on doing it because I like you said, it just makes me feel good. You call it selfish, you call it whatever you want, but if I can do something for nothing and freaking create a smile for somebody else and lift them up, I mean, that's a win all day long. Let's talk attention to detail as a leader and what can happen as a leader if we don't really understand and do that prep work that Floyd mentioned a little bit, because that can actually affect the people you're training. Right. So if you're training people as a leader, but you're leading in a lackadaisical way, that means the team that you're training is being trained in a lackadaisical way. So now we're actually grooming some bad apples. Right. And so I don't know if you guys have ever been on a team where it was just kind of half measures and we're like, damn, why don't we ever win? And I'm like, well, because we only put in half the work. So attention to detail is crucial in your field, in Casey's field, my field of work, everywhere you probably do. Attention to details is crucial. So what are some things that you guys prepare to help keep in line with the details of your plan or as your leadership roles so that it benefits your team that you're training as a whole?
Well, I don't give any slack. I approach it from training and real world.
Okay.
Right. Some of the schools that I went to in the Navy, as a Navy SEAL, the level of attention to detail by the instructors was absolutely horrific, because you're like, how in the hell I'm going to meet this standard, right? And they are requiring you to meet this high standard, right? And as a student, especially as a young student, as I got older and started going through the schools, as a team guy, I understood the process. But when I was new, I didn't understand the process. And the process is, if you pay an enormous amount of attention to detail to whatever it is that you're doing, when you get out into the real world, it's going to be easier. So much easier, because your training, your attention to detail was so much harder. Like you held yourself accountable, right? You hold your team accountable, and your team may be upset at you of you just having that attention to detail, making sure they don't miss every step. But when they get out there in the real world and they start dealing with the situation, they're going to appreciate it, because they're going to excel. And downrange rarely was real world harder than training, with the exception of one of your teammates getting injured or killed. For the most part, real world operations just felt like, man, this is it. But training to get there, oh my goodness, it was a beast, because of our level of attention to detail.
Right.
And a lot of times we take it for granted, having attention to detail, and we overlook those things that ended up either costing your business thousands of dollars, maybe being late to an appointment, you know what I mean? Or you're sending back a referral email or whatever the case may be, and your tone and your punctuation isn't correctly. So when we're talking attention to detail, we want to train our team just as if they were you. You know what I mean? And we're not telling you guys to go out there and just work your people like Navy SEALs. Okay. That's Floyd. That's not the.
You'll be a winner if you do.
You damn right.
Yeah.
You'll be a winner if you do. And I'd say you'll be a cold stone killer.
It's a process. It's a process. But so I give you a personal attention to detail. Whenever, and I travel a lot still, I have a binder.
Okay.
Of all my responsibilities as a father and as a husband in that binder. So when I'm gone, they can open up the binder and they can look, okay, vehicles, they need to go in service at this time. The wheels need to be rotated at this time. And okay, bills, they need to be paid on this day. This is how much it needs to be paid. This is the mortgage. And okay, here's the accounts that it's coming out of. This is the allocation of groceries. This is the allocation of gas. This is the allocation of. So there is no question while I'm gone. If a question comes up, they can go in the binder and look to see, all right, here's the answer.
So if I understand you correctly, you left your family an SOP when you go on vacation? Did I just
as a standard operating procedure
of living life while Floyd's gone?
Right.
But it
hey,
takes
I love it.
guesswork.
I love it.
That's the attention to detail.
That's right. Because if you do have a daughter like I do, that's a new driver, and you do have a wife that their dad took care of their whole entire time. It's important that we are responsible. We are ultimately responsible for our family, for our loved ones. And so it is important. It's as simple as you need to rotate your tires. Hey, you need to get that oil changed. Hey, instead of wheat bread, buy the white bread this go round. You know what I mean? So I don't know if it goes into that detail at his house, but I feel like it just might, folks.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
I
so
think
that's impressive, Floyd. That's cool, and that's the rawness we want to get out of Floyd right there, folks. Is how is this man operating
Look,
today?
my wife doesn't appreciate as much, but
I appreciate it.
for me, it's a oh shit, right?
Mhm.
So oh shit, I don't come home for whatever reason. I get into an accident. I'm in the hospital for a long time, and I'm unconscious. I'm incapacitated. And I'm the one that's paying the bills. I'm the one that's providing all this. So all of a sudden, the responsibility drops on my family, and I don't want them to look and say, "Well, I don't know what to do."
Right. Day they need you the most, you're not around.
And it's the same thing in my profession. I'm not hoarding information. I am sharing information, and I'm putting it in a place where my organization can go, the people I work with can go and get that information just in case, right? So because it's about it's about integrity, right? Doing your job when no one's looking, right? And if I'm out of the picture, I don't want them to say, well, Floyd was handling that, and I don't know where the folder is or where the file is.
Right.
It's that level of attention to detail to make sure that you share those small snippets, and you don't have to share everything. Hey, this file is over here, right? And oh, this transaction is over here.
Yeah.
And so they know, just in case.
Yeah, and that, you hit the nail on the head with that. It makes perfect sense, and you basically open up my brain, the amount of involvement that I have within inside of my family when it comes to bills and the daily operations. And you're like, yeah, man. I mean, I drive 50,000 miles a year. So the odds of me getting into an accident are extremely high.
Yeah.
Right. And like, it just was like daunting. It's like, wow, what if shit did hit the fan and Mike Rannigan didn't come home tonight? Like, where does that leave my family as a whole? Do I want to leave them in chaos, or do I want to leave them with a little bit of peace in mind? And so you need to be thinking the same way inside of your business. If I go down for 2 weeks for some random reason, we're not going to give it any credit.
Crash in South America.
I mean, there's so many different variables out there, the unknowns, the force of average that will sneak up on us. Right. We say that the devil's outside doing push-ups, and that's when you got to be ready. Right. That is that's not when we prepare. No. Right. The preparation time is over. Right. The preparation time is over. Now it's time to get to work. And if you're not ready and all those check boxes weren't freaking done and the PMs weren't completed, you're leaving your team on the high and dry list. So that's amazing, Floyd. We appreciate that.
Yeah. And look, I think words are important, and I like to define things, because sometimes I think we get bombarded, and I know I've said it before, but we get bombarded with so much information, we forget what words mean. So I like to define things for y'all. Attention is the action. Key word all the time. Every time we do a definition, it is amazing how many times action is in that definition. Attention is the action of taking special care, right? So it's two things. It's action plus special care. And you add that with detail. A detail is an individual feature, an item, a fact. So you're taking special care of some individual item, right? Your family, your standard operating procedure for your business. And look, when we're talking about business development, which is what this team's all about, this alliance is all about, attention to detail, standard operating procedures, what to do on the worst hard day at the business of the Floyd McLendon household, right? What bill do I pay next when daddy got in a car wreck coming back from the space on I-30? It could happen to all. It's the most dangerous thing we all do every day is get on these doggone interstates. Floyd travels a lot for work. Mike travels a lot for work. I travel. It's 88 miles round trip between any of the 5 courthouses I go to at least 4 days a week, right? It could happen to any of us at any time. Do you have these processes and procedures written down, right? So not just at your team, right? You know, Aaron can carry on, Jeff and I can carry on, but that your family, your loved ones, like, what do they do, right? Like, well, shit, how do I pay the mortgage tonight? It's due tomorrow. What bank? What's the login?
Yeah, redundancy is a good thing.
Right. Yeah. Well, when you're at sea, right? I mean, you think about a boat at sea, any boat, except for, pleasure craft, right? If you have one, you have none. And that's why you have two of everything, right? Because if you have two, you have one, because one will always fail, right?
Yeah.
You're in a boat, you're fighting a boat fire. You got two dewatering pumps and two fire pumps. Why? Because for doggone sure, one's going to fail.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So,
and so that really, as you define that and you put that into muscle memory and you create those healthy habits and you are able to start developing the new perspective as a leader, the whole idea behind that is to train your people up, right? The whole idea in business, for me anyways, is to be able to create a great culture, a thriving company, and then after X amount of time, I've created such a great operating system that when I do decide to walk away, that the team below me rises and is able to kick it and just keep on trucking, right? That is the whole idea of in my American dream looks like, right? To have 7 business running at a high level capacity, and I'm sitting back and collecting checks.
You're training someone to replace you.
yeah.
Right. But without those attention to details, because oftentimes as leaders, we carry bad characteristics, right?
Yes.
Sometimes we take off before the team's ready to take off. Right.
And that's a really great point, because just because you have attention to detail, that doesn't mean that your team should do it exactly like you.
right.
Right.
True.
You need to allow your team to grow within their personality, within their construct. Right. You don't want to stifle them as an individual. Right. But you are like, they're going to figure it out as a leader. Okay, well, they have the attention to detail, but this is how they go about it. Right. It may not be a straight line, but as long as they get to it, their route.
Yeah, if the end result's the same, then we're good with the path taken.
But it's recognizing that as a leader, that you're not training them to be exactly like you. It's about the detail that you want them to pay attention to, and them doing it within their own self.
Yeah, we're just setting up boundaries for the team to grow with inside. And as a leader, we need free thought. We need to be able to have critical thinking skills and use those. We need to be creative enough to say, you know what, Mike, your path was cool and all, but check this out. You know what I mean? And you go back and you reevaluate some of your thought processes of your team, and you say, damn, man, that really is a great idea. And you now implement it as is, because you realize that it worked that well. So giving that credit back to those team, and that's how you know that you're doing what you're supposed to do as a leader.
Right.
And I don't want to hang around everybody that thinks like me.
No, absolutely not.
We're just going to be agreeing all the time.
Yeah. Did you have fun? Yeah, we had fun. You have fun? Yeah, sure. You want to do it again?
I want to be challenged. I want to, your upbringing, your background, your environment's completely different than mine. So you're going to approach a problem in a completely different way where I can't see it. Right. And then we bring those 2 or those 3 different ways to deal with a situation. And then we figure out, okay, what's the best way to do it? That's money right there.
That is money. Y'all take that to the bank right there. If y'all didn't write that down, I'm gonna hit one of these buttons. I don't know really what it is, but I think they're pretty cool. So he gets that. He gets that. Whatever that was, that's what he gets, because you can take that to the bank.
Yeah.
So we dive in as a leader, and it kind of begins with being honest with yourself, knowing yourself to be true. And oftentimes that can be scary as a leader, because you want to build that relationship with your team, right? But how far down the rabbit hole do you shed? How many layers of that onion do you really begin to shed with your team? And where do you find that balance between, cool, I can let you this much into my life, but I can't really let you in all the way. You know what I'm saying? Because as a leader, with your team, you guys probably knew each other insides and outs, right? Because of the certain activities that you guys used to partake in. But as a leader, you want to be able to groom them. You want to be able to carry them up, and you want to be able to have that emotional connection, right? Because just because you're a leader, you still have to have a bond with your team, so that builds trust. So where do you guys define the line of giving up too much of yourself to somebody else?
I think that's an individual preference, but in this day and age, the way that society has grown, you have to establish a caring personality. Your team has to feel that you care about their well-being. Go back, when our parents grew up, it was no, you go to work, you do what the boss said, you leave work. That was you and the boss didn't, you didn't go out and have drinks, you didn't socialize outside of the office. It's completely different now. With the younger generation coming up, you have to connect with them so they feel like you care about them, right? And that's getting personal with whatever you have to feel comfortable with sharing, because there are similarities with the position that I'm in. We talk about marriage, we talk about kids, we talk about different places we served or schools we went to. Like those kind of things brings connection. And a lot of times when you go out and have lunch, or you go out to a happy hour with your coworkers or your bosses, that's where the real connection is made. It's not in the office doing the work. It's you break bread, and it's like, oh, this person is human, and oh, they are willing to share a vulnerable side to them.
Right.
And you go back into the workplace, and it's a stronger bond that you feel, between you and your coworkers and your boss.
For sure, but just be careful. You don't want to get too sideways with your staff. So when you do show up on Monday, they're like, "Oh, did you see what the boss did?" You know what I mean? So there definitely is that fine line.
There's I'm assuming that
I don't assume anymore in my life, Floyd. We're done with this.
That we keep it professional.
Yeah.
Right. You're not crossing any.
And that's one of the
Title IX, HIPAA. You're not crossing any of those lines. Right. It's just, you're still, professional, but you're just opening up as a human being, and you're letting them get to see the almost a little bit of the non-professional side. So
you're letting your guard down just enough
because it's a culture, right? I know I look for a culture when I want to have relationships with an organization, and looking at the culture, you're looking at, who the people really are.
Yeah.
Right. Like how they conduct themselves, how they speak, how they treat people, things like that. And if that culture doesn't match mine, then I'm moving on somewhere else. But in order to be able to see that culture, you have to open up a bit so they can bring you in, and then you can go back and forth, and you can say, yep, this is for me, and no, this is not. And that's how you really breed the connection. You have to connect. If you don't,
I cannot agree more. And I hope I didn't cut you off.
No, go ahead.
I'm sorry, but here's the thing. Employers have some of them hard-headed, hard lessons, bitter pills to swallow. If you're not developing a strong culture, you cannot trade time for cash anymore, because the COVID-19 plus Delta variant plus Gen Y plus millennial
Y2K.
You just get all that. You got a generation or two now going on 3 of latchkey kids who grew up in big urban areas. It's all of us in this room, and Jeff at home, Lewis down in Houston. Well, his story is even crazier than that. But people who are very independent minded, right, and who have already been through some scrapes in life, and they're not going to be attracted to time for just cash, right? It's got to be more. It's got to connect with it's got to align with their purpose, such that they're willing to give more of their personal freedom and time in exchange for the dollars. And yes, you can throw a lot of dollars and do some recruiting, but that's not going to, if you don't keep your recruits, so retention, right? What's the most important thing about recruiting? Retention. And if you're still recruiting, that means you got a retention problem. And that has something to do with your culture, right? Because people at some point are like, the money's not enough. I'm not going to stay here and work 70 hours a week plus Saturdays
and get belittled or get down talked to.
Right. And it's like,
I don't know too many people where money is enough if the culture's wrong.
No,
most of them will bounce, right? I mean, they will go.
And it's hard as a leader when you start out, you know what I mean? You don't even know. Like, I personally didn't know I was a leader until somebody told me I was. You know what I mean? They're like, "Hey, Mike, you realize you're leading folks." I'm like, "I don't know. That's you're looking at the wrong deal." But then I started reviewing kind of where I'm at today and from where I was at 5, 6, 7 years ago. And there are people that are actually listening to what we're saying. And now I'm having to lead by example, right? So now my whole perception of who I am has changed, right? And that goes back to relearning who I am.
People are watching.
People are always watching.
You have no idea.
I do know, because you just told me.
It's everyone needs to understand, like, you are being watched all the time, and people are looking, and not to say that they're judging you, but they're just assessing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, good or bad, indifferent, they're assessing you, and they're saying, you know what, that's somebody I want to rock with, or nah, I ain't trying to mess with that person, right? And a lot of our opportunities come completely out of the blue.
1000% agree with that.
My job came completely out of the blue. I got a call, and it was like, yeah, I've been following you and your campaign for the last 2 years. What are you doing right now? I'm like, all right, well, I'm doing this, and this. All right, well, there's a position that we want you to apply for. I think you may be. Completely out of the blue. Didn't know this person was watching. Didn't know this person was. It's just, you understand that everything that you do, especially coming in contact with individuals, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, they are watching and looking at your feed and seeing what are you posting, like, and they're figuring out, okay, who is this person?
Is he real?
Is he real? Right? Are they fake? You know, what is their culture like? Who are their friends? And right, wrong, and indifferent, you're being assessed on whether or not they want to pull you into the culture.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's creepy good. Right. I don't really know how to so really settle on my ears quite so well. You know what I mean? But like, wow, I never really looked at it in that perspective, that there are people out there.
Most great leaders did not look in the mirror and say, I'm a great leader and I'm going to lead.
Yeah,
they were chosen like you were chosen. Right.
Point.
Or you were made aware. You know, people are following you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Like, think about what happened with Sir Charles Barkley. You know, we call him Sir Charles, but he was very resistant to that back when he played for the Sixers. You young kids don't remember that, but he was a 76er, and I am
not a role model.
I'm not a role model. In fact, I'm gonna go get a big paycheck, and we're gonna win a championship in Phoenix because we couldn't beat Michael and the Bulls in Philly.
Yeah,
and neither could the Knicks or anybody else in the East, right? You know, but neither could the Suns. But they came close, real close. Maybe the best finals ever, besides Hakeem Olajuwon's. Just saying. Anyway,
do tell, Casey.
Yeah, come on, H-Town. Anyway, the point though is that I actually got the privilege of meeting Charles Barkley when he played in Houston later in his career, and he had acknowledged at that point the leadership role, that people were looking up to him, that they were assessing. That is a great way. Judging, not judge, that's really not what it's about, but we are programmed to go, is this person aligned with me or not aligned with me? Do I want to get close to this person, or do they need to go get a shower or whatever? Right. I don't get along with their core values. So,
do I want them talking to my wife? Or do I want them interacting with my kids?
Yeah.
Do I want them, right?
Am I going to hang out on a Sunday barbecue and have a cigar with this family?
Right.
Anyway, you're a leader. You're being assessed. You're being observed. Like, we've had the blessing of having people as far away as South Africa, and then some people right here in North Texas, and they're like, hey, and then we've been assessed, right? They've told us, you guys are not on the Great Lakes.
Quit, Costa.
You gotta clean it up a little bit. Or we're gonna get some soap.
Yeah.
Anyway. You're not a sailor.
Like, you damn sailors can't Be sailors. Oh my God.
Right.
So confused.
Yeah. Like that's our alignment. That's our love language.
Like we kind of like those words. Probably the best 4-letter word ever. We're getting ready to get to the top of the hour here.
Verb?
That's it,
Yeah.
everything.
It's
It's everything. I mean, I can use it. But Jeff Skinner just sent us a tick. Culture should follow your core values. I'm going to take that a little bit further. Your culture will follow your core values. That is how a culture gets defined. That's how a culture is created. It is designed. Your culture is created by your belief systems.
Yes.
Do you want to create? Do you have a spiritual understanding with a power bigger than yourself? I call him Jesus Christ, right? I don't care what anybody else calls it. Do you have a healthy culture where you do want people to get into shape, eat right, live long, right? Because if you have a culture where all we're eating is ho-hos and ding-dongs, well, the odds of my insurance going up are in my favor, right? So you're thinking long, big picture items. So the culture you create is going to have a direct effect on your bills that you pay inside of your business as well. And so your core values will define your culture and vice versa. Your culture is going to define your core values. So well said, Jeff. We got any saved rounds right around the corner? We're coming to the top of the hour. I can't thank Floyd enough for coming in and just giving us some insight on how he operates on a daily basis. And it says right here, I'm reading, if you bring the same kind of precision that you train with to everything you do, it will carry over both on and off the field. So if you're training at a high level at your business, at whatever you do in life, and you're creating those healthy habits should carry over into your family, right? So your business core values and your family core values should be in sync with each other and in alignment. And that ways, it's typically just a simple process of living. You're not trying to balance these two cultures, because one of them is lying to the other,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
No, yeah, absolutely.
And then don't be discouraged at the results. If the actual result isn't what you thought it was going to be or intended, don't be discouraged. Put in the work. Continue to put in the work. It is the step-by-step attention to detail, day in, day out, that will eventually pay off down the road.
Yep.
Right?
The consistency.
The consistency is the process. I'm trying not to get into my talk for Saturday.
Right. No, this is a free show.
What are you talking with on Saturday, Floyd? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
What are you talking? Floyd, what's speaking? Are you speaking somewhere on Friday?
I'm speaking somewhere Friday.
Where are you speaking at Saturday? Go ahead and tell our audience, where are you speaking at on Saturday?
I think is it $1 Million Hustle?
The daggone $1 Million Hustle.
I think so.
Floyd's gonna show up. He's just ready to let it out right now because I keep pulling out these tough questions. No, folks, I don't preload these and give them to our guests. These come straight from right here, so nobody can be prepared, because we want raw, natural, caught off guard. If we would have been scripted, I would have never known he had an SOP at his house.
Right.
So 7 principles preparing for battle.
7 principles for preparing for battle. Well, we look forward to it. Thanks, Jeff. I see him. He popped on for getting our comments and people squared away. We know he had some things he had to take care of on his personal side. But Casey, as always, thank you for coming up, showing up, and supporting up. Patriot Business Alliance viewers out there, we appreciate your love and support that you're giving, and we look forward to killing it on Saturday at the $1 Million Hustle. Y'all better bring it, folks. It's coming.
Hey, so can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah.
So I wanted to just take a minute and just kind of explain the logistics. That's why I popped them up on the screen right here. So just so you guys know, the people that are showing up and everything, doors open from 12 to 1. That's going to be our mingle. Our VIPs are going to be able to talk with our speakers and some things like that. 1 o'clock is Mike Bassett. 2 o'clock is Thomas Keenan. 3 o'clock is our man Floyd sitting right there. And then we got a special catered chow and some really cool things going on after the speakers go. So be there about noon, and we're going to kick it off right.
Yeah, looking forward to it. It's gonna be doggone epic.
Hey, and we still got some. I know tickets are sold out, way sold out.
So then we don't have anything.
Well, we have some Zoom seats. And it's not going to be like your boring snooze fest. Should have been an email, not a Zoom meeting. It's going to be a little interactive. So $22. Still got some tickets left. See you there.
All right. Thanks, brother. Close us out, Jeff. We appreciate you guys. Enjoy. Get out there and crush the day.
See you, IG.
God bless.